Hey everybody, it's Michael B, and welcome to Chill and Chat with Michael B. We're here tonight to do Arcade 1-Up predictions. On top of that, I got an awesome guest that I'm going to be doing the show with tonight. I'm very excited about. Anyways, guys, sit back, relax, let's do it. You know what, Sean? That's not even my worst intro. That's the best part.
Like, it was good. I liked it.
Every time I start, this seems to get worse and worse. Anyways, guys, I'd like to introduce you to a friend of mine. He's new to YouTube. His name's RGT85. I'm really hoping that get an opportunity tonight to introduce some people to him. Maybe he can get some new subscribers to his channel and keep growing. That'd be awesome.
Thank you. I mean, I would sincerely appreciate it. You know, all the help I can get, I clearly need. So, you know, it is an honor to be here with you. But no, seriously, thanks for having me on. It's this should be a good time.
Man, I'm excited. We've known each other for like 7-8 years, something along that line.
Yeah, something like that. A long time.
I remember the first time that I really remember like watching your stuff is, I don't know if you sent me a message or I just saw it naturally come up. You did this like short film on your YouTube channel. It's this black and white short film.
Yes.
And that was the point that I was like, yeah, this guy, he's got some stuff.
that whole film was just a bizarre thing where I couldn't sleep one night.
Yeah.
And I was laying in bed. I thought up the whole thing. The next day I called this girl that I was kind of off and on seeing. I was like, hey, we're going to do this film today. She came over. We shot the whole thing. I actually sent it to Jordan Fringe to edit because I was a way worse editor than I am now. Like, I could probably do that film now, but like then I was still using Windows Movie Maker and I didn't know what I was doing. I sent it to him. He edited it, and the whole thing was done in 24 hours. It was crazy.
Yeah, I always got lost in the exit of that. I don't know if there's some hidden meaning, but like, she's dead, right? The girl?
Yeah. So the whole thing, the whole movie is basically, because there's a visual clue. Because I remember when I go downstairs for the first time and sit on the couch, you can actually see her pinky is on the couch. And because she's been laying there dead on the couch the whole time. The whole point of it is it's a guy who's just having like a psychotic breakdown. And every time he blinks, he comes back to a reality that he sort of created in his head without her, because he's reliving the memories that he had with her. But yeah, he totally killed her, and she's been dead on the couch the whole time.
See, I got to go back and see if I can find that again to watch it. It should be no problem. You haven't released any videos in the last like 7 or 8 years, have you?
No. Maybe like 1 or 2, if that. But no, it's been pretty quiet for me lately.
Another funny thing, you watched the Joker movie?
Yes.
I don't want to spoil anything, but like towards the end where Joker is reliving his time with the girl, that made me think of your short film actually for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of that whole, you know, psychotic break. And, you know, while that film definitely came out like after my thing did, I did kind of, you know, take from sort of movie inspirations and even like villains of movies like the Joker. I mean, obviously Cesar Romero, and you know, he wasn't killing people, but I always liked his style of acting, and I always thought he did such a good job. And then of course with the Tim Burton films, you had a more sinister Joker that was introduced, and by extension Penguin. So I kind of drew inspiration from that. But yeah, that's the whole thing about me, is like, people think that I'm like a master planner or something. I don't plan anything. The 32X book, same thing. I was sitting on the couch and I was like, man, I want to write a book. And I was like, what should I write a book on? And I was like, well, you know, everyone's doing the NES and stuff. I was like, 32X. I'm going to do a book on the 32X. And I just started writing it. And I came up with a horrible design for it. And I sent it to my buddy, Jason. I was like, hey, look at this. He was like, what are you, 4 years old? And I was like, this is the best I could do. And he was like, well, you know what? Strangely enough, I actually have editing software for books and things of that nature. So if you give me some money, I'll do everything. You just send me pictures of what you want to use, and I will edit and format the whole thing. So he ended up doing that, and it worked out great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, 32X is a pretty good one to start with. I mean, limited library, so it's not, the mountain.
I was actually going to follow it up with a Virtual Boy book, but then Jeffrey Wittenhagen did one like right after. I was like, oh, damn. Because I don't want to, I mean, not to say anything negative about anyone, but the bigger books that you see out there, it's not necessarily the people writing those reviews, like your NES and your Super NES. Obviously, those people have to have help. So, while their name is on it, it has a bunch of contributors to it, where I'm more like, I just want to be the one to do it and do it all. And it's just like, if I were to do like a proper system that had, a big library, it would consume all my time. And so it's kind of like, I keep to more of the niche stuff. But yeah, like I didn't care if that book, all I wanted that thing to do was break even. That was it. That was the whole goal. I didn't want to get rich off it. People are like, well, it's not that good of a book. And I'm like, it's not supposed to be. I just wanted to do it. Like, and so I did it. And as long as I broke even, I was happy. And I actually did pre-orders through Castlemania. And I broke even just on those pre-orders. So everything that's come after that, which, I mean, it's not like a lot or anything, but everything that's come after that has just been pure profit. So I paid Jason money up front to do the editing and then a percentage of all the sales, and I paid Joe Redifer from GameSack $100 to look over pretty much everything, not to edit it, but for technical stuff, because I didn't want, because I knew if I did it and there was technical issues that people would crucify me. So I was like, all right, you're the biggest Sega nerd I know. I need you to look at numbers. I need you to look at terminology I'm using. If anything looks wrong, just tell me. So he was kind enough to do that for me for $100. And yeah, I mean, it came out good. I'm very happy with it, and it exists.
So I got a super chat here, Sean. I just want to introduce you to our friend Zohar, who's a fixture in our community, console fanboy. He does a lot of videos that are very interesting, sometimes making fun of me, and he's a good guy. Anyways, just saying, my next iArcade video this Friday is the meanest yet. I will be ostracized for sure. Zohar seems to have a problem with the iArcade. He's crazy, right?
I was not. So my story with the iArcade is they hit me up a very long time ago, and they're like, hey, we want to send you one. And I ignored the email, not because I'm an ass. Well, I mean, I am to some extent, but not because of that, because I had no room in my old place. Like my WrestleFest was literally in my living room. My work area where that green screen was a portion of my living room. Like I just didn't have the room. So I was like, I would like it, but I don't have the room. So when I bought this place, I was like, hey, it's me. Yeah, I know I've kind of ignored you for a while, but it's not because I'm a bad person. It's because I literally did not have the room. If you still have one for me to check out, awesome. If not, I completely understand it, and I'll snag one because I finally want to check it out. And they were kind enough to send me over one. But yeah, I'm very, very impressed with that. I talked about it in my arcade tour video, but I find myself playing that a lot more than I play my arcade one-ups. And I think it's because, like, when you went to an arcade back in the day, yes, you had your marquee titles, you had your Street Fighter, your Mortal Kombats, but 9 times out of 10, when you walked into that arcade, you weren't getting on the sticks on that because there was people waiting, there was people already playing it, so you would have to sort of circle around and then kind of wait your turn and play other games that maybe you weren't familiar with. And this is like the perfect, maybe you weren't familiar with these games machine, like Bloodstorm. I've been playing Bloodstorm a ton, and I was like, why does this seem so familiar? And then I looked it up, and I was like, oh, this is the game that Daniel Pesina left Mortal Kombat for to do publicity for. And obviously it didn't do well in the arcade, but I think Bloodstorm is awesome. It's like Time Killers, but it plays a lot better. And I'm just like, wow, this is great. I love this game now. And just finding so many games like that on the system is just so much fun. So I absolutely love the iArcade. I hope they are able to expand and get more licenses. And the best part about it is it's future proof, and it's right now, because they're doing like a big sale on it, it's cheaper than all the arcade one-ups are. And you're getting so many games. And people say, well, the game library isn't that good. That's subjective, first and foremost. Plus, how many, like my Street Fighter arcade one-up, it's 3 versions of Street Fighter 2. Like, I love Street Fighter 2, but I mean, there's, minor differences. This, you're getting different genres of games and stuff like that. You get a bunch of games for free when you buy the thing, good games like, Double Dragon and stuff. So it's like, I don't get like why some people just don't like it at all. Like, if you have an arcade one-up and you know that's the one game you have childhood nostalgia for, buy this as your other thing and then get all the other games that you missed out on. Or even if you don't, you know, have anything, like right now with their sale price, it's like, well, you might as well just get this, get a huge variety of stuff, and then just wait for Walmart to do clearances on the arcade one-ups.
This community can be wild, man. Like the home arcade, home recreation arcade. I don't even know what you want to call it, but like it's almost like that Sega Nintendo war. Like people are either arcade one up or they're at games or somehow they're iArcade. Like people are vicious and super loyal to whatever brand they like. So there's people out there that are just like, nope, arcade one up all the time, 100%. Will not try iArcade.
It's weird. Like back in the day, you know, when the arcade one ups were $300. Okay, it made a little more sense. But now, like with Terminator's $700 for one game. It's like, no, like I love that game to death, but
I know.
No, I can't do that, especially when, you know, it's even a game that, you know, it's fun, but I don't think it's necessarily a game that has great replay value. Like, you know, I could play House of the Dead or Virtua Cop or something like that over and over again, and those games have a little bit of meat to them. Whereas Terminator is just like, you know, and the whole thing that it's free play, that's going to make it even quicker, because the whole reason you kept wanting to play it was to see how far you could get on 2 quarters back in the arcade. Whereas this is just like, well, you play it for, you know, 20-25 minutes and then you're done. And it's like, man. Oh yeah, the bonus footage. Can't forget the bonus footage. That's the big thing. Like, I still love arcade one up, but with their rising prices of things of that nature, and just, you know, after experiencing the iArcade, I think future wise, you're probably, because I'll be real with you, if iArcade can get some big marquee titles on it, like it has bigger titles, you know, Double Dragon, it has Retromania on there, and that's all, you know, the whole modern games, we haven't even gotten into that. Like, that's super cool in my opinion, how they got Retromania and Dead Cells and things of that nature, and they're adding in more games all the time. And you know, you got your Double Dragons, you got your Rast Stands, you got some good stuff on there, but if you could get like 1 or 2 big marquee titles on there, like, man, you could make a lot of noise. And speaking of noise, the speakers, I use that jukebox in there like all the time. Like, because I was gonna get like a little sound system for the arcade portion, but I was like, well, maybe these speakers are pretty good. I just hooked my phone up to it. I'm like, yo, this is awesome. Like, this is legit. I love this.
Yeah, jukebox mode is just as good as having like a Beats pill or something like that. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's got, you know, 100 watts. It's got a little knock to it. So I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed with that iArcade. I'm kind of annoyed with myself that I waited so long to get it, but you know, now that I've got it, it's like, well, great. You know, this thing, even if they didn't add another single game to it, I think I would still be happy with it. And I still think it's worth the purchase, because you got a great variety of stuff. You got over 200 games that you can check out on the thing. But the fact that they're constantly adding in more stuff and they're trying to get some bigger stuff going, and I think they will succeed in getting some of that bigger stuff going, it's going to be very cool to see what happens in the future.
I think it's going to be tough, though, because, I mean, these licenses aren't as easy. Some of them are restrictive in the space for some reason, because like they go there and they're like, hey, we're iArcade, we want this game. And then they're like, sorry, we have an exclusive deal with Arcade One Up for these titles, XXX and X.
Right. And I think that will be something, because I mean, I don't expect it to get Mortal Kombat. I don't expect it to get Street Fighter 2 or something like that. But I mean, if you could get, you know, other Capcom fighting, because there's a million Capcom, obviously Darkstalkers is already on the thing. There's a million Capcom fighting games. There's a million versions of Street Fighter. I don't know if Arcade One Up just has Street Fighter in general, or just those versions of Street Fighter. Because if you start talking about something like Alpha 3 or something like that, like that's a huge get. Like that's arguably one of the best Street Fighters of all time. So it'll be interesting to see. But I think they're on the right path for sure. And so I'm very curious to see what the future holds. And plus, I got that game sale coming up, dude. I'm gonna load up on so much stuff during that game sale. I'm just gonna buy stuff that I've never even heard of. Just watch the little preview video, be like, all right, add it to the thing. Let's go.
So are you gonna have your own? Like, I love you always have your Switch sales videos. Are you gonna have an iArcade sales video all loaded up?
I might actually, just depending on, because, well, I don't know if I can talk about that.
Okay, I'll keep it quiet. we'll leave it
Well,
alone.
you might have gotten. Did you get an email about something today for the iArcade?
Mm.
You might be looking. You might be looking attractive tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we're on the same page. So yeah, I did that. So that should be pretty dope. But yeah, definitely. I'm a big fan of it. I'm definitely a big fan of it.
All right, so I got another super chat here from Zohar again, and he's asking you really like this is par for the course with Zohar. Do I have a chance with Miss Click Live? I'm a therapist in California. I'm a songwriter, and I love Zelda too.
She was I think I don't see. That's the one thing about the Spawncast is like I know some things about personal lives, and some of the people I know more inside their personal life than others. Miss Click is someone I definitely don't know too much about her personal life, just what we talk about sort of before and after the show. But you never know. I mean, as I always say, you got a 50-50 chance. Like, what's the worst is going to happen? She says no, but I would just keep your expectations in line, prepare for disappointment. And if you get surprised with good news, then hey, you won. You won the game. Speaking of winning the game, the Knicks win, baby. Let's go. Yes.
So when I asked Sean if he could do this tonight, he was like, "Well, it depends on what's happening with the Knicks. They're in a bit of a blowout now, so I think I can make it." But then it became a very, very tight game.
Dude,
so
that's how every freaking Knicks game they always go up double digits, and you're like, I can relax, and then craziness happens, and it's like I can't relax. But they won. That's all that matters. I'm in a better mood now. They won.
So one of the games that we're all really excited about that we hope somehow iArcade can get to come to their store, and this is the last iArcade thing because we do got to talk about Arcade 1-Up at some point, but Shredder's Revenge and Streets of Rage 4 is another one we really want. If you put both of those games on that, man, fire.
Dude, straight fire, man. And the thing is, the way that the system is built, it can do that. Like Shredder's Revenge would be absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Like, and Streets of Rage 4, just things. And that's kind of what I want to talk about when we talk about the Arcade 1-Up Consumer Electronics Show stuff, is these companies need to start going in avenues and doing things that the other ones can't, or the other ones haven't done yet, because that's going to be what manages to stick out. One of the strongest things, of course, we all love the classic games. We still want to see classic games come to the iArcade, but when you get a game like Streets of Rage 4, when you get a game like Shredder's Revenge that comes along, it's like, hey, this would be perfect for an arcade. I mean, that's what made Retromania so special. Like, it's the successor to WrestleFest. You want that arcade feeling, and playing that thing on the iArcade, it's like, it just feels like a whole new experience after playing it so much on the Switch, because now it's like, it really feels like it was built for this. So that would just be huge stuff.
Oh, look, you've got fans here. This is my buddy, the Garage Gamer. He says, "Hey, RGT, is Metroid Dread going to have 3 million in sales?"
Okay, it's got to hit 3 million copies sold, and no, because if you look on the eShops, and here's God, I have a retort for everything. People say, "Oh, well, look at Amazon." Okay, Just Dance 2021. How many copies did that sell in 2021? And this year, got to remember, that's last year's version of the game. 2022 is coming out. Just Dance 2021 has sold more copies on Amazon this year, 2021, than Metroid Dread has.
That's
so
wild.
Unless in some weird way this game has sold millions and millions of copies, got to keep expectations in line. It's already falling off a cliff in the UK in terms of physical sales. It's starting to fall off of eShops. Like, I love the game. I want Metroid to be successful, but when you see new Pokemon Snap, a Pokemon game, arguably the best looking Pokemon game of all time on the Nintendo Switch, just barely cracked 2 million units sold this year, it really should put some fear into your heart if Metroid is going to sell over 3 million copies. That's all I'm going to say.
Why is that? Metroid, like one of the greatest franchises in Nintendo's history. All the games are amazing, but yet just doesn't sell well.
It's never sold. The only version of Metroid, 2D Metroid, that sold well, especially worldwide, was the original on the NES. That was the only version of Metroid to ever break 1 million sold in Japan, was the original Metroid. Metroid became very Metroid 2 on the Game Boy was okay. Super Metroid, which is arguably one of the best games of all time, didn't sell all that great. The highest selling game of all time in Metroid was Metroid Prime, the original. And people say, well, blah blah blah. That was on the GameCube. This will sell more because it has bigger install base. It's like, well, look at the Wii. Metroid Prime 3 Corruption didn't sell better than Metroid Prime did. It's always been more of a niche series. And I'm sure Nintendo is very happy with the sales, but I just don't see it selling 3 million in its first year. I think it'll be 2, maybe 2.5 million. It's a more niche franchise. And you can say the Switch effect and all that stuff. Great. What did the Switch effect do for Xenoblade Chronicles? Did either Xenoblade Chronicles game on the Nintendo Switch sell over 3 million copies in its first year? Or has either of those games sold over 3 million copies life to date? The answer is no.
Yeah.
The answer is no. So, it'll be interesting to see, though. But I have a sneaking suspicion I'm going to be right.
And it's a sad, too, because the game is like masterpiece. Like,
it's so good. Yeah, it's amazing. Even though Nintendo evidently hated my video on it. It was amazing.
All right, so we gotta at some point talk about Arcade 1-Up. That's the title of the video. We're talking about Arcade 1-Up predictions for CES 2022. We can also do home arcade, whatever you want to do, man. So first off, Arcade 1-Up. I want to tell people about what we kind of already know. So the stuff that didn't come out last year that we all kind of know is coming out. So we're talking about Track and Field, which arcade classic. People love Track and Field, but it's an older game. Like, are you familiar with Track and Field much?
I know it, but it does nothing for me. It's kind of like Tron. It's like, I understand why people love Tron, and I'm sure I'm going to get crucified in the comments. But Tron was before my time, so it's just like, I don't care about the movie. I don't care about the game. It's kind of like the Star Wars. When they did the Star Wars trilogy, I was like, holy crap, this is going to be amazing. Thinking it was the Sega games, I was like, yes. And then they showed off the games, and I was like, oh man, this isn't what I wanted. But I understand why there is a large fan base of those games. So it'll be cool, but just something not for me.
Yeah, you're not going to get any hate on Tron here. The overall overall thoughts on Tron is, listen, man, it's a beautiful cabinet. It's an awesome piece of furniture, but those games aren't good.
Right.
Yeah, not for everybody.
Yeah, it's just it's a smaller, it's a little bit of an older demographic, things of that nature, and nothing wrong with it, but just not for me.
So, Track and Field we know of. The one I am really excited about, this is an older cabinet. Do you remember Arcade Impossible? You remember watching that show back in the day?
No.
Oh, you don't know Arcade Impossible. That's sad.
Let me look it up. It was a television show?
No. It's a YouTube channel. It used to hang around with Nest Complex.
Okay.
Yeah.
So okay. Anyway. Yeah, okay. Now it's ringing a bell. I'm seeing him now. Okay.
Yeah. So the cool thing about that is he always had this cab that was a dream cab for him, which was Robotron 2084. So Arcade 1-Up coming out this next year, we're finally going to get a version of Robotron 2084, but it's not going to be Robotron. It's going to be Smash TV, and it looks like it's going to be Smash TV, Robotron, Total Carnage, and then I don't know what the fourth game is. Like, I was hoping Narc. Narc could be such a cool inclusion, but that might be a fun cab for some people.
That's spicy because I do enjoy Smash TV. I think that's a super good game, and that's a game that, I mean, when it came out on consoles, obviously there's been compilations where it's been released, but when it came out on consoles, it was vastly different because of the control scheme that you could not replicate at home. So that would be a good one. That would be a good one.
DigiPunk says Berserk, and I got a feeling you might be right on that. Berserk might be the fourth game, another classic Midway arcade. Wonderful game. So we'll see. And those are the two we kind of know. And there's also, have you seen some of these Legacy Edition cabinets Arcade 1-Up putting out?
I have. I don't know how I feel about them though.
Like, what do you mean?
On one hand, I like them, but on the other hand, it's like, I don't care. You're just taking games that already exist, that you already have the license to, that you already have on machines, and then just putting them into one machine. Thus, kind of, giving the middle finger to people who bought the machines individually or who bought the machines on day one. And it's like, I just want newer stuff. I want different stuff. It's cool, but it's becoming too frequent, I feel.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of, I don't know what the right term is. Things are being recycled a lot. I understand that. But like for me, I was excited because I was like, I get to keep all my games on my Final Fight and all my games on my Street Fighter into one cab and then make room for something else. But then again, I have problems, which by the way, is totally your fault. You know that, right? Like I've told you this before.
They used to be cheaper.
I know, but Sean used to make videos like all the time. It was Street Fighter Arcade 1-Up, and then I was like, I gotta get this. So it came out, got the same thing you did, just the Street Fighter 2 Arcade 1-Up. Didn't get the Rise or anything like that. Played it on the ground, and I was done. I just wanted one arcade machine. I was happy with that. Then I keep watching your videos.
Happy. You're never satisfied. It never ends.
You keep getting more, and then Turtles comes out. You get that. You do a video on that.
Turtles.
Yeah. So anyways, now I'm here with, I think I bought like 25 cabinets after that. So this is your fault, Sean.
I'm sorry. Please don't send me the bill.
Yeah. So one that I think we all know is coming out. Get ready for this. You like the recycling comment? Get ready for this one. There's going to be another Pac-Man cabinet.
Why?
Because they haven't released a Pac-Man with Wi-Fi in it yet. And leaderboards.
I know that's annoying. That's annoying. Like, I love Pac-Man. I prefer Miss Pac-Man, like most normal people do.
Yeah.
So, sorry, chat. But yeah, it's like you did a Pac-Man, you did a Miss Pac-Man, you did another Pac-Man. That's enough Pac-Man. Like,
yeah,
like move on. I can name 1,000 games that I want to see before I want to see another Pac-Man system.
The thing is, you just got to let it happen, because what happens with Pac-Man, that's their cash cow, man. They put Pac-Man up in stores, it keeps selling, and that gets us all that weird and wild shit we like. Yeah, that's when they do their projects. So those three are for sure coming out. We've also know about some legacy cabinets that are getting reskinned. Like there's another Midway legacy coming out that has Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 skin. There's a Centipede cabinet coming out, which is the Atari legacy cabinet 12-in-1. So that's kind of what we know is going to happen at CES. But let's talk about what we think is going to happen, and then we'll talk about what we hope is going to happen. Now, I'm excited to see if you like this one, because I think the biggest announcement at CES, I think it's going to happen at CES, is going to be their next sports title. And I don't know if you're a fan of this game or not, but
Blitz?
I think, yeah, we're getting Blitz.
Of course. Who isn't a fan of Blitz? Blitz is awesome. Yeah. But what else do you put on that?
I don't know. I think there's a couple copies of Blitz, isn't there? Like arcade copies? Yeah.
But, I mean, weren't they were pretty much, well, yeah, I mean, that's what they did with NBA Jam. Didn't Midway also do a hockey game? Well, Gretzky.
Yeah, NHL Open Ice 2-on-2 Challenge, I think.
You throw that on there, too.
That's tough, though, right? Because licensing's so hard, where you've got to get the NFL to agree, then all those players. But then to find a whole nother sport being like, yeah, sure, we'll come along as a tag along. Like, it's not that simple, right?
Yeah, because there was 3 versions of Blitz
in
the arcade. So, I mean, that would be cool, but I don't know if that's a day one, because I watch more basketball than I do football. Like I watch football, but I actually like care about basketball and scream at the television. So like NBA Jam was like a no-brainer, but Blitz, it might be a little tougher for me.
Yeah, so Blitz, I think Blitz might be the headliner, the big one they're going to put out. They also just did this partnership with the Miami Dolphins, where they actually have a Arcade 1-Up arcade right in Miami Dolphins Stadium right now, where fans can come through the game and just go up and play Arcade 1-Up cabinets. Test them out.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I was laughing. I had John Dion a couple weeks ago, and I always laugh when an Arcade 1-Up ad comes out. There's an ad there under the features for coinless operation. I'm like, what do you mean coinless operation? Of course it has coinless operation.
You'd be surprised at how many people, like, dude, like when I moved, the movers, I hired movers because I was like, I'm not moving all this stuff. And they came in to the game room and they were like, what is this? I was like, oh, this is what I do for a living. They're like, is this really Mortal Kombat? And I was like, yeah. And so I turned it on, and like, the dude was like, are you good? And I was like, I'm pretty good. And he was like, well, fight me. I was like, all right. So we did a round, and then I beat him, and he was like, all right. I was like, all right, now you got to do some work. And he was like, okay. So then when we brought the stuff to the new place, I was upstairs, like putting away stuff in the kitchen, and my mom and grandma were over here helping me. And they were like, what's that noise? And so I'm listening, and I was like, son of a bitch is on the Mortal Kombat. So I came downstairs, and him and another dude were sitting there playing it. And I was like, all right, we got to finish this up. They're like, don't worry, we're not going to charge you for this part. I was like, okay, that's fine. You can play.
You are actually really good at Mortal Kombat, aren't you? Like,
yeah, I'm pretty good.
Pretty good, or like real good?
I would say pretty good. I don't consider myself like really good, like top tier at like any game, because for that you have to have played it like a lot, play it over and over again, know all the little intricacies, and it's like a speed runner. Like I could never be a speed runner because you're playing the same thing over and over and over again. It's just like variety is the spice of life. So there's games that I'm better at than other games, but I would say I'm, like Mortal Kombat and like, a pretty vanilla version of, like Super Street Fighter 2 or, any variation, Champion Edition, something like that. Like I'm pretty good at those.
Yeah. Anybody could be a world champion in video games. I mean, have you ever beat Glass Joe in 42 seconds? Because if you did, you're a world record holder. One of 50,000 different people that have that record.
Sign up in the Guinness Book of Gaming Records.
Yeah, anyways, the reason why I bring up Mortal Kombat is because there's an outside chance next year is a big anniversary for Mortal Kombat in the arcades. We're probably going to see the online equivalent like we got with Street Fighter 2 Big Blue this year for Mortal Kombat next year. So, and Zohar, you're going to be happy about this. I think it's going to have the original Mortal Kombat artwork-ish because of the issues with Daniel Pesina, where he left to do Bloodstorm, Sean's new favorite game, and he had his falling out with Boone and Tobias, or Midway, all that stuff. I think they're going to do the art, but they're going to leave him off the cabinet. So it's going to be the original Mortal Kombat, just no Daniel Pesina on the side. And John kind of alluded to that when he was on my stream last week, because he said it's canon, because in the game, the same thing happens when Liu Kang drops the arcade on the guy. It's just the original Mortal Kombat arcade, no Daniel Pesina.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, and the second party people will have this done anyways. It's like when they released Outrun, they already had the logos ready to go for you to put the Sega logos back on. So you're going to see people who are in these giant vinyl Daniel Pesinas and sticking them to the side of their cabinets.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it was pretty iconic. Like,
yeah. So I'm pretty excited about that. MK Online. And if you're pretty good, Sean, you might be interested. Well, you're not going to rebuy that. I know you're not.
I'm not a rebuyer. It's got to be fresh ones for me.
So, Tyler Fisher, thank you so much for the super chat. Tyler wants to say Star Wars Stand Up and the new Star Wars trilogy. So the one that you originally thought we were going to get.
Yes. That'd be hard, though, because it's a pretty advanced Sega game. But, I mean, the money is there, clearly.
Oh, yeah. They would not have any problem selling that, especially to the stores. Like if you look at their pinball, I don't know if you follow their pinball tables that they put out. Like they put out real pinball tables based on old classic Williams pinball tables. But I mean, like they put out the Marvel and Star Wars just made up tables by Zen, and they killed them in sales. Like I would bet they sold them like 100 to 1.
I mean, it's good licensing stuff. It's easy, identifiable. People still know it. You don't have to rely on nostalgia with something Marvel or Star Wars. Obviously, you can get the nostalgia, but they're still relevant today. Whereas something like Outrun, you have to be an old man to appreciate Outrun or something,
What are you trying to say, Sean? He's noticing the white of my beard?
Hey, I got it too, man. I throw a little color in mine. I'm not going to lie, but don't let that leave this video.
My wife has been pushing me to do it. She's like, yeah, just put some just for gray. And I'm like, nah, man, I said I would never, ever dye my hair, but I'm leaning towards it.
See, I was screwed from a young age because my mom went gray when she was like really young, and she's been dyeing her hair for years. And I never knew that until like I got a gray hair when I was like 20 something. And I called her and I was like, what is this? And she was like, I have a confession. I was like, what? She's like, I've been dyeing my hair since I was 27. And I was like, harlot, how could you do this to me?
Yeah, my dad went gray at like 14, so it was bound to happen.
Yeah.
Zohar is also probably the world's biggest Mortal Kombat fan, and he's dropped up in another super chat. I don't like that. So disrespectful to Cage. Pay Pesina. #. He deserves to be on the Cab's 30th anniversary. I believe it too. You talk to Daniel Pesina yourself. It's not that simple, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely very iconic. And it's weird how he was the one that had the big falling out instead of like anyone else. But I guess he was essentially, the face of that game for better or worse. Even though I don't know, when I was a kid, everyone liked, the Ninja, Scorpion, and Sub-Zero the best as far as the characters were concerned. But still, I mean, that's who they went with. So, pay the guy. I mean, it's not like you're hurting for money. It's not like Mortal Kombat's in a bad place right now.
So it's so weird because it's almost like I'll use indie wrestling terms. Like he basically had a hot dog and a handshake deal for doing the show and being on the cabinet. They put him on there as just like a favor. And then the cabinet went on to become this huge hit, and he just never got compensated. So they fell apart.
And then he went to the superior game Bloodstorm.
I kind of think that's much of what they'll do. Like, I know you're going to be asking me, what's the next shooter? Are we getting House of the Dead next year? I think we are. I just don't think it's going to come at CES. I think you can tell where Terminator 2 and Ridge Racer, the driving and racing cabinet games, are announced so late in the year. I think you're not going to hear about the next gun game. You're not going to hear about the next driving game till like late next year. So maybe House of the Dead. Might be Time Crisis. I really hope it's not something off the rails, like either one of those. Or
it'll be Area 51. and
it could be worse. It could be worse. It could be the Exidy gun games. Remember Chiller on the NES?
Of course.
Oh, there's an arcade version of it. It's
wow.
Not good. Yeah.
But like, with the House of the Dead, you do virtual if you don't want to do the other two games because of technology, because supposedly that's why House of the Dead 1, because House of the Dead 1 evidently was kind of hard to port or something, because that's why it wasn't on the collection for the Wii. But like if you just did House of the Dead 1, Virtual Cop and Virtual Cop 2, sold. That's all I need. Just give me those three. I'm happy. And as far as the racing one is concerned, I think we all know what the racing game needs to be.
I don't know where you're going to go with this, honestly.
Daytona.
Yes, we all want Daytona.
As I was alluding to before, we're now at a position where there is not an oversaturation, but there's competition in the arcade marketplace. So these companies need to start leaning into things that will make them stick out a little bit. Whereas iArcade can do something like Streets of Rage 4 and Shredder's Revenge, Arcade 1-Up has gun games. Arcade 1-Up has racing games. That's what you need to lean in towards. You need to lean towards, the light gun games, the racing games, because those are what made arcades unique back in the day, because you couldn't replicate that on home consoles at the time, especially during the 16-bit era. The 32-bit era was a little bit better, but still, I mean, there was still a pretty sizable gap in between what those systems were doing. So that's what I would like to see Arcade 1-Up do. And you know what? If they want to do these legacy cabinets and stuff, if they want to say, hey, for at least for 6 months to a year, these are the games we have, do a legacy cabinet for Midway, do one based on the Mortal Kombat stuff or whatever, add in your Wi-Fi, do your Pac-Man stuff, whatever, that's fine. But I mean, how many more games can they really put out there? Like, they have a lot of fighting games. Like, do they really need more fighting games? And that's kind of a question that I think they need to ask themselves is, how many more I mean, you have to me, the only other game that's kind of missing besides like the House of the Deads and the Daytonas, the racing side of things, would be WrestleFest. And we all know that's not happening. So it's like, you got your X-Men, you got your Simpsons, did you order the X-Men?
Yeah.
When does yours come?
I have no idea. Canada's Bizarro land. So
I got mine from GameStop because Target screwed me.
I know.
I would already have it if I got it from Target too, which makes it even matter. But according to GameStop, what the heck, my orders, I should get it on the 15th. So 6 more days. Nice. But so I mean, you've got your Turtles, you got all the classic, stuff. It's like, branch out, go in it, is Ridge Racer really the answer, or was Daytona the answer? Like Killer Instinct's a great game, but you're starting to get all the great fighting games from that era. So you're either going to have to move into another era of fighting games like your Alpha 3s, your Soul Calibers and stuff like that. But those are still relevant, a bit more relevant. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see.
All right, I got to get a couple of super chats before it gets too late. Tyler Fisher, you asked me this earlier, and I apologize for not jumping back on it. Thank you so much for the super chat. Do you think we'll see bundle deals for the holiday season? If we do see bundle deals, I don't think you're going to see them at retailers. I think you'll see directly from Arcade1Up's website. That's where you'll see some kind of bundle deal. I don't know for sure. Zohar, console fanboy. He had another comment. It's not another comment about dating advice, believe it or not. He says Cruis'n USA is next. And see, this is where I was going to go with it next, because I like Cruis'n too. I like the Cruis'n series. They don't have the chipset for Daytona. And if KI is coming, Cruis'n is next. So yeah, they do get into bed with certain developers, certain partners. So
is Nintendo signing off on that Cruis'n though?
No.
Well, I mean, that's going to be the holdup, because technically Nintendo owns that license and they outsourced it for the arcade games, but like Cruis'n is technically a Nintendo property
still to this day.
Yeah, that's why Cruis'n Blast only came out on the Switch, because they had to sign off on allowing whoever developed the game to actually make it.
That's fascinating. Well, if it's Nintendo, it's never coming to Arcade1Up.
Right.
Unfortunately, I don't mean to make everybody unhappy here.
Well, no, I mean, it's just like Donkey Kong. Like, you could scream at the sky and want Donkey Kong, and Donkey Kong is actually one that I would be interested in, as far as, games a little bit before my time, but I just don't. That's something you could actually explore, is why doesn't Nintendo make their own versions of these? I mean, you have a template out there. It's not like you can't just copy what everyone else is doing. I mean, because essentially it's like, well, what would you really need to do different? You would just have to determine what sort of height you would want your cabinet to be, and then just use inspiration from the other ones. I don't think the putting peg C into peg D is proprietary to any of these companies. So
I don't know if Nintendo wants to do that stuff anymore. Like the whole mini console, I think mini consoles are dead. I don't think we'll get any more mini consoles from Nintendo. Closest you're going to get is attachments, like we've been getting with the N64 controller, Sega Genesis controller. You'll see more of that, things to pair with the Switch. So best case scenario, maybe we already have Donkey Kong Arcade, the actual arcade ROM on the Switch. Maybe we'll get a control panel that you can attach to it. You know what I mean? Through Bluetooth.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, to me, it would have to be a third-party company that comes along and does it, because we're lucky Nintendo even made a damn N64 controller, which I just got mine in today. I haven't messed around with it yet, but I hear
good.
I hear it. Yeah, I heard it's good. Because playing those games with the normal controllers, just because you can't remap anything, and it's like, what am I doing? I don't know what's going on.
I'll tell you, like, man, there's something about playing a game with the original controller that just works. Like, I remember I bought Ocarina of Time on the Wii U, and I was trying to play through it, and I got to the part in the Fire Temple where you got to do that timed run up the, rotating stairs to go get your hammer. And if you don't make it in time, basically the fire comes up around the chest and you can't do it. And also, if you fall off, you got to start the level over again. And I remember I was having so much trouble with the Wii U controller. Like, I was ready to break that thing across my knee. I tried it today. Well, it was yesterday with the N64 controller on the Switch. First try. Like it was just like muscle memory using the right controller.
Yeah, I mean, that's just how it is. Like, you have to remap your brain, especially if it's something that you've played forever and, back on the original thing. Also, I'm quoting Wikipedia right there. Cruis'n is an arcade racing game franchise owned by Nintendo. I think they bought it from Midway when WB Games sucked up Midway. And I think they bought that property. They've just been licensing it for arcades and stuff, because Nintendo does dabble in arcades. I mean, there's that Mario Kart arcade machine, and then the Luigi's Mansion one as well. It's just something that, for whatever reason, they don't really expand upon.
There's a Luigi's Mansion arcade?
Mm-hmm.
Get out of town. Are you serious?
It's got the poltergust and everything, that's what you're doing. You're sucking up ghosts in it. I've never played it myself, but I've seen it. I think it might be at like Dave and Buster's and stuff like that.
I have to find out what the Canadian equivalent is and try to figure this out. I love Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah, it's it's an arcade game, but it's cool. Like,
I got another super chat here from TB the King. $5 was licensing the music and or Aerosmith the reason Revolution X wasn't on Terminator. Yeah, it's
dude, I have the weirdest Revolution X obsession because I rented the game 2 days before. This is when I was living down south. We were getting a big hurricane. I don't remember which was Fran, Andrew, something like that. And 2 days before the hurricane hit, I rented that game. It wiped out the area we were in. Everyone was without power except for me. Like our street, we never lost power. So my mom called the rental store and they were closed. So there was nothing they could do. So I ended up keeping that game it was the Genesis version for like a week and a half, 2 weeks, something like that. And I just played that game so much. And I don't even know why, because I didn't really enjoy it, but I forced myself to enjoy it. And now it's just like, I love that game. I love the soundtrack, the stupid, for finding this, then they've taken over. It's up to you now. Stop to find our car and to stop the new order. Remember, music is the weapon. Like it's just burned in my head. Like I love that game though. It's just pointless fun.
Whenever I think Revolution X, I think of I don't know if it was the first or the second Game Chasers Christmas special cartoon. I think it was the first one, and the guy shows up at the party and he's like, "Revolution X, where music is your weapon."
Yes, it's so good.
Anyways, yeah, it's the same thing I tried to explain with the reason why they wouldn't have NHL on the same cab as the NFL. I mean, it's, as a secondary game on T2, you're paying a lot of money for Aerosmith, just the name, plus the licensed music. Like, it would make it way too expensive, especially for a second game. No way. So that's the reason, TV.
God, that's just so much money for just one game, though. I love the artwork. I love everything about the thing, but I just that's one I can't. And I mean, I'll be real with everyone. I write these off on my taxes because it's part of my business. But even as a tax write-off, it's just like you're supporting one game at $700. So if this thing's successful, then they're going to be like, we can do this more often with games. So it's like, it's a slippery slope. I understand why it's expensive.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, it's like, well, can't you just give me one without the riser, without the light up marquee at like, 600, 550, something like that. Like that would be easier to swallow. I'm just going to get on a little tangent here very briefly. That's one of the things that bothers me about Arcade 1-Up.
Yeah.
Because now they should, if you want to do the fancy ones and put those in store. At least have the option to get a cheaper one without a light up marquee, without a riser. None of my Arcade 1-Ups have risers because I just use a chair. I sit in a chair when I play that. I stand up when I play my iArcade. Now that I have all these Arcade 1-Ups, I don't care about risers. I get risers when I have to buy these things. Now I'm getting one for X-Men. I'm getting one for Simpsons. I'm not going to use them. They're just going to sit in the corner of the basement where I just keep random stuff. Sell the versions a la carte without the light up marquee, without the riser, without the stool at a lower price point. And it's just like, it can't be that hard to do.
They still do, but it's only certain versions. So it's more their, I don't know what the right term is, like evergreen. All the legacy cabinets came out with $299 versions that just had the cabinet, no light up marquee, no riser. And then like Miss Pac-Man did. But that doesn't appeal to you. I know you want.
I want Terminator 2 with no light up marquee and no riser. Just let me sit there and shoot people. It'd be perfect, but it's a business after all.
I know why they did it. It's because it got so hard keeping things stocked and like getting inventory. Because so many people wanted the risers, and then there was this massive riser shortage. Like I had to get a guy to pick up a riser for me in, where was it? Like I think it was Washington, and ship it to me. The riser ended up costing me like $200 US by the time it got.
Oh wow,
it was nuts.
Yeah,
just to get a riser for my Street Fighter.
I think I threw away the Turtles riser when I moved because I like stubbed my toe on it when I was packing stuff, and I was like, "You son of a, you get out of my house!" But I still have the NBA Jam Riser, and I still have the generic arcade 1-Up Riser, just in a box. You know, they're in the arcade 1-Up Riser's in its original box. The NBA Jam one is still wrapped up. It's just like, but then you know, if I do two systems, it's like, well, then everything else is gonna look stupid because it's not on a riser. So I'm just like, no. And plus, I hate building stuff anyways, and building a riser, I have never done that, and I feel like it would be a pain in the butt for me to do.
So that's part of the reason people think people like myself get addicted to buying these is there's some kind of weird fixation with building things. So it's interesting hearing you talk about saying, "Nah, man, I hate building.
I hate it. I hate, dude. Dude, let me tell you, I have a massage tomorrow because of how bad the air hockey table jacked up my back. Holy Christ on a crack. The skee ball table took me 5 hours to assemble. Yeah. I didn't even do it right. It works, and so it's not being redone. But there's like screws sticking out all like halfway. The air hockey table, you know, if you lean against it, it'll wobble a little bit. But I mean, it's sturdy enough. It plays a game of air hockey, which is all I care about. But yeah, these bookshelves, I hired someone off of TaskRabbit to come do it because I was like, because they're the same bookshelf that I have over here that I've had since the old place. Yeah. I got this bookshelf when I first moved into my old place, and my dad actually helped me move. And I was like, hey, you know, can you help me put together this bookshelf? And he was like, yeah, sure. It took us an hour and a half, and like there was lots of problems, lots of yelling, lots of, you know, you're not a part of the family anymore sort of stuff with it, but we got it done. Yeah. And I was like, I am not doing it. I will hire. And like, I found someone that was like $25 an hour off TaskRabbit. I think he came, it ended up taking him like over 3 hours, but he only charged me like $60. And then he hung out. And we watched the Knicks game for a little while because he was like, you can go watch some of the game. I was like, you a Knicks fan? He was like, yeah. I was like, all right, sit down then. And so we hung out for a little bit. He's like, well, if you ever need anything else done, and I should have done that with the arcade. I mean, with the skee ball and the air hockey, but I'm stubborn.
So a while back, there were a couple other cabinets that hit the $299 level. You could buy an X-Men versus Street Fighter with no riser, no lit marquee, and they also, I don't think they did Marvel versus Capcom, but you could pick that one up. But then again, that's another fighter, and you got that fighter fatigue, right?
Yeah, because I've got Street Fighter, I've got Mortal Kombat, and I have the Marvel Superheroes, which has that and X-Men Children of the Atom on it. So it's like that the Marvel versus Capcom is definitely very tempting, but it's like I'll just play it on my Dreamcast. You know, it's like you know, because I like the arcade games that I remember seeing and or playing in an arcade. I never played Marvel versus Capcom in the arcade. I played that on the Dreamcast for the first time. So that, you know, that's like for me, it's the early, you know, the very late 80s to, you know, like 96. Like that's the stuff I want. That's the stuff that interests me. You know, like X-Men. I remember walking into Milford Amusement Center with my dad, and which was an arcade / you know, bumper boats, bumper cars sort of thing, and seeing that X-Men cabinet, and I was like, what is this? What is this greatness? I was like, let me play this. Look at this thing. It's got multiple screens and, you know, 1 million controllers on here. You know, same thing with WrestleFest. I remember the first time I played Street Fighter 2 was at a pool. It was a pool that a family member, we had moved to North Carolina, and a family member was staying at a Marriott hotel. And when we walked into the pool area, because we went to go see them to swim at the pool, there was like 2 arcade machines, and there was Street Fighter 2 there. And I was like, yes, let me play it. I remember the first time I played Mortal Kombat was at a Duchess restaurant, which is a fast food chain in Connecticut. I was there with my grandma, and they had Mortal Kombat, and I was like, give me some quarters. We're playing this game. I was like, this is great. So those are the experiences I like with these machines. Yeah. It's things that I remember from when I was a kid, because I decided to live my adult life just like if I was a kid with money, and just reliving all this stuff. It's like, I ain't got nothing else to do. Screw it.
Yeah, one of the other things I'm really jealous of is you've got an amazing like toy wrestler collection too. Like especially that second tier or second run of WWE wrestlers, WWF wrestlers that were the little ones. Oh man,
there's 99 and I have over 70, but really the only ones I am missing are like the triple digit and up ones individually. So I'm kind of taking my time with it because obviously I've spent October, I spent a stupid amount of money in this place. So it's like maybe at the start of the year, I'll start looking into a full collection. But yeah, I have a book that tells you like all the stuff and all the variations. It's funny because the whole reason I had some as a kid, but I didn't really have too many toys as a kid. But I had some of those as a kid. And my mom actually found out, or not found out, she found a Bret Hart sealed and a Hogan sealed at a flea market when she was in Florida, and just picked them up and sent them to me like a couple years ago. And that's kind of what got me back into it. I was like, I remember these were awesome. Like, these were so good. Why did I never start collecting these? And then at the time they weren't, too bad. So I started picking some up, and then, as time goes on, everything goes up in price. But yeah, I still have those two sealed, and they're worth, like a couple $100 each. So, that's pretty cool. She picked them up for $5 a piece.
It's that goddamn Zack Ryder, man. Why does he got to make everything so expensive?
I mean, and he's got everything. Yeah. Like, Jesus Christ, he's got everything loose, got everything sealed. He's got the
prototype molds,
prototype ones. Like it's crazy, dude.
So,
but now I'm into the freaking X-Men figures because I never had those as a kid, but this kid at school and / church had them, and I would play with them, and I tried to steal them all the time from him, and like he'd be like, give that back to me. I'd be like, what are you talking about? I don't have anything, because my mom she wasn't buying me any like action figure, like very rarely. Most of the time we went to Dollar Tree or a dollar store, and I would get like the knockoff figures, and I was like, these are good enough for me. But yeah, like the X-Men figures from the Toy Biz stuff, like I've got them in a tote, like I've got like 20 or something sealed, but those are actually cheap, so it's not bad buying those.
So are those the originals, or are those the re-releases that recently just came out?
No, I'll show them to you. I got them, they're right over here.
I love that he's wearing a Taz shirt. Yeah, MG1, the 80s WWF figures. I love those too, the big rubbers.
Yeah, the LJN.
The LJN Superstars, Wrestling Superstars. I think I'm pretty close to having a full collection on those, honestly. All loose, but still got all my kid ones. That's the only problem. I kind of messed up some of the kid ones. Like I cut Rick Rude's hair, painted some of them. Like it's stupid, right? Because Rick Rude is so hard to get now, and like that Warrior.
So here's like Juggernaut, and
I'm gonna put you full screen so people can see you, Sean.
There's a million different Wolverine variations, like ridiculous. This is the naked Wolverine. That's really weird. And then got just a random mutant. Gambit, Wolverine street clothes, because you gotta have this is the street clothes one. I also have a Wolverine playset too that's new in box. I don't remember what the hell it's called, but that's in the other room. Magneto. We got is our boy? It's our boy Wolverine. Gotta have another Wolverine. Our boy Wolverine. Gotta have another Wolverine. Banshee. I don't even know who the hell this is, because my whole X-Men thing wasn't necessarily the comics, it was the cartoon. That's what I watched, and I loved it. So most of the characters that I have are based on that. Slyback. I don't know who that is. I'm gonna act like I do. Storm, a good Storm figure. Sabretooth, good Sabretooth figure. But yeah, these are, they're still super cheap. Our boy Wolverine robot version. And I got a couple more here. Cyclops. I want the other Cyclops though that has the hair out. That's one that I'm still planning on buying. Nightcrawler, and then another one that I want to buy is the Colossus figure. Our boy Wolverine. They're all different Wolverines. That's the crazy thing. And then Bishop. So yeah, like I've just, I've spent hardly anything on these really. So it's a fun little collection. I just don't know what the hell I'm gonna do with them here. I got to figure out some way to display them.
Man, I got a bunch of toys that are just sitting in bags and boxes because I don't know what to do with them. Like at one point I got like a massive GI Joe collection from the original 3.5 GI Joe figures.
Mm-hmm.
And I had them all up on my wall at one point in my game room, but when I moved, I took them down and I still haven't put them up. Like it's been the first time I moved was like 6-7 years ago, and I haven't put them back up since. They're just in a box.
Yeah, I could probably pin these to the wall.
Yeah,
because they all have, they're all. Oh, this one's a little loose, but they all have the tag on them.
Yeah,
yeah. I could do. I get some push pins or some clear push pins.
That's what I did.
Yeah, I'll put them. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna buy some clear push pins tomorrow.
Emery Arcade, $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much. Here's to living like a kid with money. Great line, RGT.
That's my life.
And Zohar, I'm trying to get back to it here, buddy. If I can find it. If not, I'll just read it here. Serious for once. If iArcade has Dreamcast-like hardware, why can't they make efforts to get Dreamcast hardware? See if I can find that comment down here. Here we go. Zohar, I think it's just. I think they are making efforts. It's just a matter of getting the licenses in place.
You mean like the Naomi engine games?
Yeah, the Naomi engine games. They could probably get what was the House of the Dead fighter zombie killer?
Zombies Revenge.
Zombies Revenge, yeah, something like that would be amazing.
I think with Sega, you kind of got to crawl before you walk with them, because even when you look at what they're, look at the Arcade 1-Up side of things.
Yeah,
it's not like Golden Axe is cool, and Outrun is cool, but they're still not games that you would necessarily think are. Outrun, I guess, to some extent. My whole thing with Outrun was I remember playing it at a laundromat, and that was the only thing I ever did Outrun with. So it doesn't really hit that hard with me. But I feel like Sega is kind of stingy with some of their properties for whatever reason, whatever the case may be. But I think you will start seeing stuff like that, but it just takes time with them for some reason.
All right. So before we end here, Sean, I got to ask, if you could have anything Arcade 1-Up release in the future, what would you like to see?
Daytona USA.
Daytona USA, 100%.
Without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah.
Like even just completely crazy, zero chance of happening.
Yeah.
Top Skater.
What's Top Skater? I've never heard of Top Skater.
Top Skater was a Sega arcade game where you stood on a fake skateboard and you did tricks on it. It had little rails that you held on to on the side, and it had a skateboard, and you would do. It was kind of like it wasn't super. It wasn't like a Tony Hawk in terms of depth. It was more along the lines of something very arcadey, but it was super fun. It's just a great game. Cool soundtrack. You had your Offspring, Pennywise on there, stuff like that. Just a very cool Sega style game from that time frame. Just awesome. But yeah, that would never happen because you had to have that skateboard in order to do it.
So it'd be a very specific control layout.
There was no control. The skateboard, the faux skateboard, that was the control. So there's absolutely no way of that happening. But
so it's not like they can put Golden Axe on there too.
Nah. But as far as, did Sega ever do a snowboarding game like that?
They did, yeah. Double it up with the Sega snowboard version. Apparently there was a snowboard version as well.
Was it Steep Slope Sliders? I know that came out on the Saturn, but was that oh no, that was actually made just for the Saturn.
So I sometimes lose track, and we were talking earlier about House of the Dead, and you said there's something with the emulation on the original House of the Dead, and I don't know if it's something to do with the arcade version or if it was the fact that it's done with that Saturn hardware, and apparently Saturn is a nightmare to really emulate well.
Well, the Saturn version was freaking horrible. Absolute butcher.
I've never played it, right? Because it's super duper expensive even when I started collecting Saturn stuff.
It's the Japanese version. It's cheaper.
I know.
It's just the blood is green. That's what I have because I'm not paying $300 for a CIB. House of Dead's probably more than that now. It's the last time I looked. But no, it's just it's based on the arcade version. Because there was absolutely no reason for them to do House of the Dead 2 and 3. I believe they used, because you know how like Sega has their different game engines that they use for the arcade. I think House of the Dead 1 used a different engine than 2 and 3 did, which is why 1 was just completely skipped over. If I'm incorrect on that, I'm sure the chat will let me know. But I'm pretty sure that was. Let me see if I can.
Jeez, did 2 and 3 use the same engine? Like that feels like night and day between the two games.
Yeah, that is true, because 2 is more along the lines of like 1 in terms of graphics, and 3 is like completely different. There's some weird reason why I thought it had. Let's see, because it's got the House of the Dead 2 and 3 Return. Blah 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 blah. What engine was House of the Dead 1? House of the Dead 96. Okay, that was a. Come on. Oh, that was an AM. That was done by AM1.
Yeah.
And then who did? I don't know. It's something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So 2 was done on Naomi.
Yeah.
And I wonder if 3 was also done on that. That was developed by WoW Entertainment and Sega, same people who did 2. So it's probably something like that then, which is why that was the case.
So a friend of mine by the name of B Kong is here, and he said yesterday Top Skater sold for $900 an original at Captain's Auction Warehouse. Would you ever consider getting a real arcade machine at some point, or is it just too big, too much work, too much maintenance?
Too big, too much work, too much. I'm an idiot when it comes to trying to fix anything. Yeah. So I couldn't imagine trying to mess around with stuff like that and bringing it down. I would hire someone off of like the air hockey table. I don't know if you watched my arcade video, but that story where it was a 60-year-old man who was like 5'6" helping me drag this into the house was absolutely true. And he was actually taking on most of the weight. And I was like, dude, switch with me. And he's like, no, I got it. And I'm like, this man probably died when he went home. Like, it was that bad.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was that bad. Like, I felt so bad, but he was down to do it. So
I don't know. Have you ever heard of John's Arcade? He's been doing this for years. He does like these arcade tours and stuff like that. Yeah. So John's Arcade, like when I think about buying Arcade 1-Up products, and then I think about the real arcade products, I think back to his videos. And he's got like a 17-part series to trying to get like a Mortal Kombat 2 working. And I'm like, it's probably why I stick with Arcade 1-Up.
Yeah,
this guy's been doing it for like 20 years, knows everything about it, and he still can't get this machine working.
Like if you know how to do it, that's one thing. Like Ralph, like he knows what he's doing. He so it makes sense for him to do that. And plus he turned it into a show. But just for me, it's like I just don't have the interest in it because of the weight, and the arguably the visual quality is going to be better on an Arcade 1-Up or an iArcade because you're using LCD versus CRTs for most of those games. And so it's just it's awesome, but it's not for me.
Yeah, but you also know we've seen that on the other side with the console games, like people complaining about, CRT is the only way to play, and
Yeah, and I mean, it's definitely I'm all about options though. Like, I don't give it. I don't care how you play your games. You want to get a RetroPie and download everything? Great, do that. That's awesome. I actually have the Evercade Versus back there that I still need to check out. I've just been freaking swamped, but like that I think is a brilliant product too. That I won't say that, but I will say that is what the Retro VGS / Comico Chameleon should have been. Keep it simple and then grow it, and that's what they've been doing. They released the handheld thing, and now they got the home console thing, and it's like brilliant, genius. $20, you get a bunch of games on a cartridge, and you got a good variety of stuff. You got newer stuff. You've got Pico games. You've got Mega Cat Studio games. You have classic games on there. Brilliant stuff. But if people just want to emulate that, like that's cool too. There's reasons why companies make things, and that's because there's a market.
Yeah, you know what the best way to play a game is? However you want. That's it. And I like what Evercade are doing too. They sent me, it's over a year ago now, but they sent me the handheld, and I got like a bunch of the games, and
Yeah.
it's my daughter loves it, like loves it. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a super good machine.
All right, so I'm gonna throw up my dream arcade is. And I'm trying not to be that guy that knows about like what the limitations are. I'm just gonna say it. I still want Donkey Kong. Like what really pulls me back into like all this arcade stuff, watching that stupid King of Kong movie and just the idea of having like a Donkey Kong in my house and be able to play it and do that all the time. I know I can get a real one, but like you, I just want something that's simple. It works. So that's still for me. Donkey Kong with Donkey Kong Jr., and Donkey Kong 3.
Yes, that would be awesome. I would buy that for sure. And I'm not even the biggest Donkey Kong fan in the world, but that would interest me because I like all of those games.
Yeah, there's an argument to be made. What's the king of the classic arcade games? And like everybody says, Pac-Man. Might be Donkey Kong. Like, come on.
Yeah. I mean, completely. I mean, there's not really any Pac-Man movies. Donkey Kong, you know. He's getting a movie technically from Illumination is the rumor. So
I think that's going to be more Donkey Kong Country kind of type stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's still the Donkey Kong character.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, who's Chris Pratt going to be in that one?
Donkey Kong. he evidently he's doing Garfield's voice.
Yeah, that's terrible. Bill Murray's still alive, man. Why is Bill Murray not doing it?
Well, see, to me, Garfield is Lorenzo Music from the cartoon show.
Yeah.
Like that is Garfield. And I don't, Bill Murray did a good job, but like Chris Pratt, I don't know. I just want to know when Chris Pratt became like the voice of everyone. Like, I'm not a big movie watcher. Like, I watch classic movies that I like from when I was a kid because I never really grew up. But occasionally I will watch newer stuff if it interests me. And like the Jurassic World movies, a huge Jurassic Park fan. I love the first three. I think the first three are brilliant. I don't care if there's plot holes and stupid things that happen in them. They're still great movies, especially three. Three is a criminally underrated movie. Anyways, like I watched the Jurassic World movies and I was like, this guy's okay. He's not bad. And now he's just like everywhere. And I'm just like,
he's everywhere.
Why are you? Who are you? Who? Did you sell your blood to Satan and now you have this blood pact and he's getting you all these movies? Like, I don't get it.
Well, he married into the Schwarzenegger JFK family, right?
Oh, did he?
Yeah. That's his new wife.
Oh, yeah. He's Hollywood elite then. He's got everyone wrapped around his finger.
Oh, yeah, totally. And the Bill Murray thing, the reason why I wanted to see it is because Lorenzo Music, exactly for that reason. He played Garfield. He was also Peter Venkman in the real Ghostbusters cartoon. So that's why it was so cool for me to see Peter Venkman also then do Garfield.
Yeah. He passed away, though. I see some people asking why they don't get the original voice actor.
Lorenzo. He passed away a long time ago.
Long time ago.
And it was the biggest travesty in Ghostbusters history when they replaced him with Dave Coulier, who took over as Peter Venkman.
Oh, God. Yeah. That's when I turn off. That's when because it's on, what is it, on Netflix, I think?
Oh, it's on like so many different streaming services.
Like I'll watch up until that point, and I'm like, all right, Uncle Joey, you can go kiss a dick.
It's still a couple episodes I got to watch. There's one about the Grundle, which I think is Dave Coulier. Is that Dave Coulier, or is that still Lorenzo Music as Peter? I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm going to leave that alone. Kong is king of arcades. I'll take it. Yeah, I agree. Kong's are us. Well, wait a minute. Kong is king of arcades, not you. You're not king of arcades. But I think that's about it. I mean, CES. Oh, the other thing I want to mention, I didn't ever ask you this. You're not a pinball guy at all, are you?
Not really. Like I'll play it, and I remember playing the Terminator pinball machine as a kid at a video rental store. But like, I don't know. Like, they're cool. Maybe I would like to check one out, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know, because I probably wouldn't use it all that much.
Like it's a different aspect altogether, different game. So Arcade 1UP released their first pinball tables last year. I think people are excited to see what's going to come out. I wouldn't get too super excited because what you're going to get is the other side of what was already released. So we got a Marvel one, the next Marvel table is going to come out. It's going to have the other half of the Marvel games that we didn't get on the first one. Same with Star Wars, and then same with Williams. And we might get the one I'm excited about is the Universal one, because we'll get Back to the Future, E.T., Jaws, all that stuff. Maybe the Jurassic World, Jurassic Park games. So that might be a cool pinball table.
That would be something I would buy. Huge Back to the Future fan. So yeah, that would be something I would check out, just almost with a new set of eyes. Because yeah, pinball stuff, I never really got super into it.
Well, like, have you ever played any of the Pinball FX stuff? PC, Switch, any of that stuff?
The Star Wars one, the Star Wars collection on the Switch. I did play that. I liked it. It was fun. A lot of different tables and stuff like that. But it's definitely, the thing about pinball is I feel like it's very contingent on the franchise that it's taking place within. So like, okay, Metroid, I bought Metroid pinball on the DS because I was a Metroid fan, and I was like, oh, this is cool. But like, you know, if it's not, you know, something that, you know, like a Back to the Future, I don't know if they ever made one, a Beetlejuice one, like I would love that. But like, awesome. If it's just, you know, just something random, a random pinball table, you know, it doesn't really do anything for me.
RGT85, console fanboys back. Dude, Sean and I are the same. We both hate Pac-Man, hate pinball, love MK, love Back to the Future. My mind is blown. I think you're going to see him on every stream going forward of yours and every video going forward now.
Yeah, you know, I could use all the support, you know, like we said at the start of the show. Small budding channel, please help me out.
Prince Malcolm, he's a big iArcade guy. He's saying Citizen Ghost, Flipside, The Grundle, Boogeyman, Ghosts R Us, Don't Open Till Doomsday, and Roller Ghoster are the best episodes. I appreciate your inclusion of The Grundle. I'm a big fan of the first season of Real Ghostbusters, like Halloween is Forever. My daughter loves the Troll episode. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it is like every time she wants to watch it. And then also the Sandman episode. So yeah, good choices there, brother. Thank you very much for the super chat too.
Yeah, that was a great show.
Oh, fantastic show. Like I can watch the first, I think it's like the first like 90 episodes, the ones with Lorenzo Music. That was the best, even though that was the best Peter, that was also the best writing. I can watch those over and over and over again nonstop.
It's weird because a lot of the cartoons from that era, like your Ninja Turtles, your X-Men, I mean, by extension Simpsons and things of that nature, there were shows that kids could enjoy, but there was also like stuff that you could go back as an adult and watch it and appreciate that. That's something you maybe missed out on as a kid. Whereas a lot of kids cartoons today are just like for like, you know, the Adderall takers because of the short attention spans, and it's like, you know, there's really no sort of substance to them anymore. It's just, you know, it's flash and flare over, you know, substance.
Yeah, I mean, like everything's got that kind of like Powerpuff Girls look, and it's all that pow. Like, it's not for me. I got one for you. Last night I couldn't sleep, so I'm in bed with my wife, and I'm trying to go to sleep. So I turn on Die Hard 2, which you know, because it's awesome. As I'm watching it, Die Hard 2, which came out, I can't remember. I think it's like 91. They do a thing where they in the airplane they throw on cable TV from the time. And one of the channels that came on from this movie from like 1990 into the 80s was The Simpsons. It was the first season of The Simpsons. And you think about that, that's still on TV today from this like movie that's over 30 plus years old. That's so weird, right?
It is. But I mean, you know, people say, oh, The Simpsons fell off, and like maybe to some extent, but like, you still have those first, I mean, really, everything up until season 11 is gold. Season 15 was really good too. And then everything else, I just look at it as like just bonus stuff. You know, it's just like extra stuff. Some of them are hits, some of them are misses. But yeah, it's crazy how long The Simpsons have been on.
Yeah, so like, I mean, let's all be honest here, guys. Every time you want to say a Simpsons episode is bad, just think of one of the good ones. Hey, Monty Burns Casino. Everything after that, it's just fantastic. It's the Spruce Moose. Get in.
What's funny is I used to hang out with this girl, and she had a shirt that was like a Grateful Dead shirt. It was like tie-dye, and it said cool as a moose on it. So that was the first shirt. That was the first time we ever hung out. That was the shirt she wore over to my place, so I had to call her Moose. and we were just watching random Simpsons episodes, and then the Spruce Moose joke came up, and I was like, "What the hell, Spruce Moose? You gotta fly? You're gonna fly me somewhere?" Yeah, Simpsons are great. Well, they were, but whatever. So at least we're getting the arcade for Simpsons.
Are you getting the arcade?
Yep, that and X-Men I have pre-ordered. Where did I pre-order some? I think I got it from Best Buy, and I know there's a bunch of stuff going on with that. I haven't heard anything from Best Buy though. Let me see. Okay, yes, I submitted it on September 13th. It still says it should ship by the 30th of this month.
Yeah, so the holdup with the Simpsons seems to be the cheaper Walmart bundle that was released. That came out at $5.29, no stool, tin sign, any of that stuff. That seems to have been delayed till January. I know that's the same bundle we're getting here in Canada, and I was talking to the guy that does the arcade one-up. I don't know what it's called, distribution here in Canada, maybe. Mm-hmm. And he said we're still on pace to get ours middle of this month. So hopefully I'm going to have my Simpsons cabinet by the end of the month. We'll see. I'm really excited about it. Like I was talking to Cool Toy, and just can you imagine in the exact same year we're getting Simpsons and X-Men, like two beat 'em ups at the same time. Like that's wild.
Perfect. And I mean, I already have on my WrestleFest. Like I already have the Simpsons on there. I already have X-Men on there. But it's like it doesn't matter. I want the look of the machine. Like that's the whole reason we buy these things. Anyone could just build your own little pie thing and do whatever you want with them. But there's just something. There's something about it. There's something about the artwork. There's something about that feeling that you get. And plus, I'm a big believer in. I'm not a big fan of things that have like a billion games on them, because I feel like it's an oversaturation, and you get to the point of where it's like you don't know what you want to play, and so you miss out on a bunch of things. I like more controlled things, where it's like it's not just all in your face. It's you got to go out of your way to think about what you want to play. But then there's with like the iArcade, you still have that discoverability that is within it, because you have the ability to see little previews of the games and stuff. Whereas like my WrestleFest cabinet, even though it's modded, I only have like, I think 30 games on it. Yeah. It's just simple stuff.
Game libraries are amazing, and especially on computers, whatever way you want to have them. But even you remember, Sean, I had like 700 NES games at one point. Mm-hmm. They're all sitting on the shelf. I can play whatever I want. You know what I'd always end up playing? Same friggin' games I had when I was a kid, man. Mega Man 2, always coming off that shelf.
Yeah, that's just how it is. You get so much stuff, and then you don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And that actually just reminded me, there's a game I want to buy on the iArcade. There it is, Cisco Heat. I remember playing this at an arcade somewhere as a kid.
What is Cisco Heat? I don't remember that one.
It's a racing game that uses like scaling graphics to do the hills of San Francisco. So it's like up, down, up, down, up, down sort of thing.
I'll ask you this question. Do you mind playing racing games on an arcade without a wheel? Like iArcade is kind of hardwired that you can't put a wheel in there. Like basically you'd have to connect something with Bluetooth. But do you mind playing with the controller, like Beach Buggy Racing, all that other stuff?
I really haven't played. Well, I played. Well, Space Harrier doesn't. You count? I mean, Space Harrier should count a little bit. I played Space Harrier on it, and it was fine. But I guess I really didn't. I haven't really played many racing. Well, I played the jet ski game on there. That was fine.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I had no issues with the controls of that. But I think this game will actually be very interesting to see. But we've already purchased it, so we will find out how I feel about it.
We're getting some Simpsons quotes coming in here now. Prince Malcolm, thanks for the super chat. Ralph Wiggum tells Chief Wiggum that Principal Skinner and Miss Krabappel were making babies in the closet. One of the babies looked at me.
They were making babies, and I saw one of the babies, and the babies looked at me.
I'm 100% sure there's somewhere out there on the internet, there's some kind of like Facebook page or something that's a cross between video game culture and The Simpsons. And this is a joke lined up for Death Stranding somehow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, The Simpsons, you had Bone Storm. The whole Bone Star. And it's funny because in that episode, Marge says that video games are up to and including $70. And really at the time there wasn't many $70 games. So it's kind of like The Simpsons predicted the future again.
I don't know, man. Like going back to the Super Nintendo era, like here in Canada.
Like, oh yeah, I mean Canada. I think,
it was nuts. Like ask me how much Street Fighter 2 was when it first came out.
How much?
$119 Canadian.
That's ridiculous.
Plus tax. Tax.
Yeah, that's way. Oh, I mean, the N64 was the first time. Well, no, let me take that back. Virtual Racing on the Genesis, because of the SVP chip, that was $100 game at retailers, and the only kid that had it was the rich kid whose house was actually like on a lake. And I remember going over to his house and he had that and he had Bill Walsh college football. And I was like, dude, how rich are your parents that you have Virtual Racing? And we played it and I was like, holy shit, this is look at these polygons. This is amazing. And I remember my mom picked me up and this little shitty Hyundai Elantra that she was driving at the time that she bought for like $7,000 brand new. And we were driving home. I was like, Mom, I need Virtual Racing for the Sega Genesis. And she was like, well, maybe Santa will bring it to you. I was like, but it's kind of expensive. She's like, how much is it? I was like, $100. And she's just like, you know, you're not getting that, right? And I was like, damn it. I was like, at least take me to Blockbuster so I can rent it, please.
All right. Well, man, I think we have done everything we can with Arcade 1-Up predictions. I think they're going to have a good CES. I don't know if they're going to do anything live. I don't know if that's happening. I wanted to do this because I wanted to talk about this before it got leaked. I never got to do this last year because, I mean, it was October last year. Someone just told me the entire list. The crappy thing is what Arcade 1-Up has to do is they've divulged their entire lists to retailers, and it inevitably gets leaked, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to get out there before that starts happening and actually do this legitimately, because my least favorite thing is watching people do videos when they know and they're still trying to like tell you like, oh, it could be this, but you're like,
tiptoe
you already
around
know.
the issue. Yeah. It's like, stop it. I'm not a fool.
Just be honest, man. Jason, when is CES? Usually January, like every single year. Phantasy Star 2 was $80. Chrono Trigger was $80 at launch. Yeah, those Super Nintendo days, and now like it's funny because you can just go online and buy them like usually for like $4. Like remember Wii Virtual Console? Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, $6.
Yeah. Well, see, I didn't have a Super Nintendo as a kid. I was a Genesis kid, so most of the games they were pretty flat across the board. Like the only one that I think Phantasy Star 4 might have been $70 when it first came out. I know Virtual Racing was $100. But yeah, most of them were pretty flat across the board with their prices.
I mean, they had to be. Like, there were just something about video games that if you tried to reach too high, people would fall back on. There's usually not much room for price increases. And that's the other thing with Arcade 1-Up. You mentioned earlier, the prices. I mean, their prices have gone up so much year after year after year. I really hope this was the top this last time, because if not, man, they're gonna have a hard time selling these units, especially to new people.
If they hit $1,000, it's over. Like, just stop. You go back to the drawing board. You know, figure out something else. You know, figure out a way to make these cheap. It drives me nuts because I don't think every one of these systems needs to be the super premium deluxe version. You can even take out Wi-Fi in some of these systems to make them cheaper. You know, even if you're just talking about $100 or $200 price difference, that's a lot of money for people, you know, especially in this economy. So, you know, you should be creating more options. And yeah, they, you know, sometimes they do it, but I just feel like, you know, there should be, when they release The Simpsons, they should have done the cheap Walmart version readily accessible for that people, you know, could get it. But I don't know. I mean, obviously I'm sure there's reasoning behind it, you know, just from a business perspective. So, you know, I respect it, but just as a consumer, I'm going to be greedy and, you know, talk out my ass.
Yeah, that's the thing we forget sometimes, like the consumer side. And I'm definitely going to get called an Arcade 1-Up shill here right now. But I'll tell you the truth. I mean, they're paying probably, anywhere from 500,000 to a couple mil for a license, right? And then you got to work out how much is that license divided by the number of units that you can sell per unit cost. That's how you kind of figure out your price. And like their license cost is so high compared to the number of units they're going to sell. So like their margins are like razor thin sometimes. So I think some of these other things that they add in that people get upset about, like stools, tin signs, all that stuff, I think they try to do that as perceived value because they got to charge you out the ass anyways for the price.
Yeah, that you're probably spot on with that. And it's, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. So I understand it, but that doesn't mean I have to like it. My wallet doesn't like it, and he talks to me a lot.
Likes it.
So,
my wallet doesn't like it either. Back when the price was a little bit lower, I mean, it was fun. Like you could just do this. Like I tell my wife, yeah, I just dropped like, $400, $500. But now I'm trying to explain to her I dropped $1,000. She's like, the stairs still aren't finished. They're not done yet.
That's fine. It's not a safety hazard. We'll be all right.
Console fanboy just wanted to give you some more love due to like Genesis more than SNES 2. RGT 85. What is happening? Did we just become best friends?
I'll have to ask my mom if she had another kid and just never told me.
Glenn's Retro Show. I don't know if you know that guy. My buddy Glenn. Yeah.
Good old Glenn.
So he's saying it's getting Mike Tyson that's driving up the cost because I know a lot of people like to throw the advertising and stuff in there.
I saw that.
I don't think it's that. And I think people think they're trying to fame reach and put the cost back on us, but maybe they are, maybe they're not. I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is for that.
I mean, you do have to do marketing.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to reach a larger, audience than just the people that you're reaching now, you've got to do stuff like that. Maybe I think the timing of it is, probably why so many people have questions as these systems keep going up. And then you're Tyson ain't cheap. It's not like you can just get him on Cameo for $50. So, you're starting to sort of, conflict of interest. Is this what's causing these things to go up in price like that? So I can see why some people would think that. And I mean, that thought's even crossed my mind too. But, unless you're looking at their books, it's all just speculation.
So I'm going to tell you a funny joke now. When Arcade 1-Up got Tyson to do the commercial, I was like, all right, At Games needs to fire back now. They need to get James Buster Douglas on Cameo.
Hey, man, back in the day, right? He had the Master System game.
Genesis too. Yeah. James Buster Douglas boxing after he knocked out Tyson.
Yeah, because that was huge back in the day. I mean, even if you didn't care about sports or anything like that, that was cultural stuff then.
Oh yeah, like no one was beating Tyson. Tyson was the unbeatable world ender, the change boxing. And here comes James Buster Douglas, who was considered to be an easy win for Tyson, and he just knocked him out.
It was the curse of Don King.
Curse of Don King?
Oh yeah. Don King is the reason why he went down the roads he went down, because his original manager or trainer died, and that's when he kind of got assimilated with Don King, and that's when he sort of lost his vision. I feel like because he should have been the greatest boxer of all time,
no doubt.
And he's definitely for a lot of people a top 10 boxer, but he should have been like the modern day, he should have been up there with Muhammad Ali, in the same breath by everyone, just because of how good he was. But I still love watching his old fights when he was just killing people, like literally just killing people in the ring. So good.
Well, you want to see something like that. Like, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that really pushed boxing. But then Tyson had that downward spiral. His marriage from Robin Givens fell apart, and then he ends up going to jail. I mean, nightmare territory. And then we got a brief reprieve when he came out. And I'll ask you this: those fights when he first came out, do you think they were like dodgy fixed fights? Like, was it a little bit too easy right away?
No, I think they were just tomato cans. Just people that
what's that term? Tomato cans?
Yeah. People that there's a 99.9% chance that Tyson's gonna wipe the floor with him. It's just like when when Jake Hager and Bobby Lashley did Bellator, you know, they said they didn't go and just fight the best that Bellator has to offer. They fought, you know, essentially your jobbers, you know, for those divisions. So, you know, that's kind of how I view it. They were just, you know, tomato can jobbers, you know, Mitch from Indiana or something like that, you know, just some random dude. Like, yeah, you want to get your head knocked in for, you know, a couple 100,000? Yeah, sure. Okay. There you go. Good luck.
All right. So then when he went up then against Holyfield, it all fell apart again because we got the air bite thing, and that sucked.
Well, I just think his head wasn't in the right place, you know, because he probably has one of the more traumatic upbringings of a lot of professional athletes, and the people around him once that original guy, I believe it was his trainer / manager, I don't know, but once he passed away, he sort of lost his father figure, and then it was over after that. Just you know, he was still fighting good, but his head was just, he didn't have anyone to really trust. And then Don King came along to try to, you know, be that father figure, and he was more interested in the spectacle of Mike Tyson than the fighter of Mike Tyson, you know.
Yeah, it was all about the sizzle, not the steak there with Don King.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I can talk to you about a million of. I'm just excited, man, to actually get a chance to have you here and talk to you. So I apologize. We've gone off trail like 1,000 times, so I won't keep you any much longer. Do you want to promote your channel? Maybe get a couple eyes going your way. I don't know if you want to tell people about what you do.
You can find me on RGT85. I make subpar YouTube videos pretty much every day. And you can find me on the social medias, RGT85 as well. Usually running my mouth about something or making a joke and offending half of Twitter, and then the other half of Twitter laughs. So yeah, you know, that's pretty much it. That's what I do.
I think some of my favorite comments are where you talk about you going over to your grandma's and getting like meatball subs or having a really good dinner. And I'm going to be asleep the rest of the day.
Well, she came over when I first had the skee ball thing.
I saw
because her sister had just like broke her hip, but now she's like good, and she lives right down the street from the place I just bought, and she's like 90, but like she was up Sunday making sauce with like her little walker because that's what Italian women do. So my grandma's been going to visit her, and she'll come by here afterwards, and she beat me at skee ball the first time she was here, and I was like, son of a bitch. So she came over for air hockey, and she didn't really understand the concept of it, and then I sort of explained it to her, and I just wailed her. I was just hitting it as hard as I could. I was like, yeah, and then, like, I beat her, and I was very satisfied. I was like, you got me in air hockey, but at least I got this.
Nothing to beat George Foreman Grill Hobby Hands. Thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Steve B says, great seeing you on here, RGT 85. And Glenn wanted to wish you congratulations on the new house.
Thank you,
guys.
Glenn.
Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in tonight. Thank you so much, Sean, for doing this. This is awesome, man. I really had fun talking to you. I wish that we had like more time, because I would have loved to talk to you. Made your ears bleed talking about AEW and how good it is to have an alternative again on TV.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Old WCW stuff too. Were you a fan that 1995 era? WCW?
Not that era. NWO onwards.
So 96 after. Yeah.
Yeah, 96 after. Before then, I viewed WC because I lived in the Northeast. And in the Northeast, you viewed WCW as like the B tier, and it was all WWF. But then when I moved to the South and the NWO started up, because I was a big fan of Diesel and Ramon, that's when I got on board with WCW, and like it was you know, life. Like that was life.
Yeah, Prince Malcolm says bring back your Stevie Richards intro. I do miss your intro though.
Yeah, so many people go, you're just wasting time, just padding time.
I know. We get it all the time here too. They're like, get rid of when you do live streams, get rid of the countdowns, get rid of the intros. And I'm like, I'm going to do whatever I want. You remember like when I used to make videos, I had like a minute 30-second intro for most of my videos.
Yep. I mean, that's how it used to be. Everyone had a long drawn out intro. Like it's just what YouTube was. And then, you know, it changed. So, you know, sometimes you change with stuff. Sometimes you just don't change because you're stubborn.
Oh yeah, stubborn. That's me, 100%. Yeah. So, guys, that's it. Anyways, thank you so much for being here tonight, guys. We almost kept 200 people for the entire hour and 40 minutes we got here. That's not bad. Anyways, have a wonderful night, everybody. And I'm going to figure out how to use this goddamn thing. Hold on. I don't usually use this program. I usually use OBS, but every now and then I got to figure out how to use OBS better, where I can invite friends so I don't have to.
I don't even know how to do that.
I was no clue.
Discord's nice and easy.
Yeah. All right. See you guys.